Carolyn Dube here. Oh, what's the play for today? Well, today I'm sharing one of the ways that you can use your gel prints or any papers that you've created. Now, I love phone cases that are fun and funky and colorful. But guess what? I have a really hard time deciding on exactly which one to get. So much so that I actually never buy an official case like that. I buy clear cases and put my own gel prints in there. And I'm going to show you some of the tips and tricks, not ticks, there'll be no ticks in this, tips and tricks for getting this in here easily, how to get the paper size right, and how to easily find a fun piece of the paper to put in there. The trick to this is that it's a clear phone case. Now this is one I've had for about 3 years on my phone, and as I pull it off, you'll see that it's basically clear plastic with a piece of paper cut in there. And this plastic, yeah, it's not looking quite so clear anymore. It's had a good life. Here's what a brand new, fresh one looks like. It's completely clear, see-through, and you might be wondering, oh, what kind of quality is this? Why did that yellow? Well, for $6 for a phone case, I'm not going to get too nitpicky after a couple of years. This new one that I have is a slightly different model, so my paper cutouts are not going to fit exactly the way they did in my old phone case. So how am I going to get this paper cut out exactly to that with the hole in just the right place? Well, I'm going to do a little cheating. I'm going to take the phone case and I'm going to photocopy it. That's going to give me the exact template for this. It is a little tricky to photocopy something that's clear. So what you want to do is take the phone case and put the flat side of it on the glass. That way you've got the best chance at getting a clear image with that. The copy I've made isn't perfect, but it's going to do the job. The trickiest part is cutting out the little cutout where, say, like your camera goes on your phone. So I'm going to cut that out first using a craft knife. And probably not going to shock you, but a fresh blade, a sharp knife, makes a much better cut than a dull old blade. So if you have a fresh blade, I highly encourage you to put it in. What I'm doing is following the shape of what was on the photocopy. Now it's a little hard to see because it was very light in the copying, but in person I can see that faint little line that guides where I'm going to cut it out. Now, does this mean I'm going to get it cut out perfectly? Probably not. Knowing me, definitely not. And guess what? It doesn't matter because this is something you'll be able to make little refinements to before you actually put it in the phone case. Another way to do this is to put your phone case on there and then trace with a pencil the shape of your cutout. Now, why am I flipping the phone case over here? Because, well, when it's raised up the way I had it before, it was hard to get a precise one. So I'd gotten it started, then I flipped it over, so that makes it so that I can get a more precise, darker line there. And that'll make it a little bit easier for me here as I'm doing this very delicate, very precise surgery to make this itty-bitty little cutout here on the paper. So when you have your photocopy, if you can't easily see where those cutouts are, you know that you can use that pencil to make those lines darker to make it easy to cut out. Well, here comes the easy cutting. We've done the hard part. Now it's the easy part, just cutting out the large shape of the phone. I'm going to do it in one solid cut, and you're going to see why I want that in one piece when we're done. Do you have to cut this perfectly precisely? No, not at all. In fact, you're going to see I didn't do that, and it's going to show up exactly what I did when I test out the size of the paper by putting it into the phone case. As I put it in here, the top looked great. Most of the sides look good, except for the bottom. I trimmed that corner just a little too tightly, so it looks like it's missing part of that. Now, is that the end of the world? Absolutely not. You're going to see how I adjust for that. But let's say you cut one of these out and it's just horrifying. You're off by 3 inches. Then guess what? All you do is make another photocopy and do the template again. If you find that one of your holes aren't quite the size that you want, then like what I did, take the pencil on there and that'll tell you where to trim it up. Now it's time to pick out the piece of the paper that we want to turn into the phone case. And to get an idea of what it's going to look like, I'm using the part we cut out here, and I'm going to move it around on different pieces of paper until I find just the look that I want. As I'm testing these out with different ones, I'm trying to decide, do I want this one, do I want that one? And the truth is, I could actually have all of them. I don't have to just cut one of these things out. I can cut a whole bunch of them out and change it anytime that I want. See, that's one of the problems that I had when it came to actually buying a professionally made phone case was because I didn't want to choose. I mean, when I look through their websites and there are so many possibilities, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of options, And quite frankly, I liked a whole bunch of them. And so I'm not actually going to go out and buy 25 or 30 phone cases, but I am willing to buy a $6 clear plastic one and then change it out anytime I want with any print or paper that I've made. And speaking of the prints, how did I make all of these? Well, they were all made using a gel plate. If you're not familiar with that, it is a fantastically fun way to let loose with color and pattern and create your own unique papers very, very quickly and easily. So how can you learn how to do this? Well, of course, I've got some YouTube videos, but I go even deeper in my online workshop called Gel Printing Fundamentals. And I'll have a link down below for you. Once the spot has been chosen to be cut out, then it's time to trace that template around it. But remember that little corner where I said I didn't do a great job cutting it out? And that's it right there. This is what I'm going to do for it, is I'm going to take the scissors and I'm now going to give it a much better cut. I'm just going to clean it up right now. Now, if you happen to be a very precise person, you won't have this problem that I did. But since I'm imprecise and I sometimes get in a hurry, I have to do these kinds of things along the way. Now I'm ready to just trace around this with the pencil. You might be thinking, wow, that's an invisible pencil you've got there, Carolyn, and because you can't really see the line whatsoever. When I lift the pattern up, it's like the line's not even there. It is a very lightly drawn line simply because I was using a cheap pencil. It's enough that I can see though when I'm cutting it out in person, but it's really tough to see on camera. Why didn't I use something like a big black Sharpie marker? Because, well, that might show up around the edges when I put it in the phone case because, again, I'm not a very careful cutter, so if I use something like a light pencil, then it's not going to show if I have a stray pencil mark here and there, and if there is one, I can even erase it too. Before I take the time to cut those little openings out, I'm going to make sure that this paper fits into the case well. You see, I'm not a big fan of doing fussy or careful cutting, so if I'm going to do that, I want to make sure that everything else is good to go before I do it. Well, now it's time for the template that was made earlier in the video. I'm going to line that up on top of it, and then I'm going to trace where I want those holes to go. That's going to tell me where I'm going to need to cut. A smart thing to do, a wise thing to do, which, by the way, I'm not going to do, is to take this after you've drawn them on there, the openings, then put it back in the phone case to make sure that those openings are on the correct side so that it all lines up. It was a 50-50 shot for me. I didn't realize I was living on the edge. And luckily, it actually did all turn out okay. But just a heads up, you probably want to double check that before you actually bring in that knife. Once everything's cut out, it's time to put it in the case, and then the big test is to put the phone in there. Everything looks good right now in that case, but there's a little trick to making it look good once the phone is in there. Because you see, right now, I just popped the phone in as if it was a regular old case, and the paper isn't quite lining up. It's not all the way up to the top like I'd expected, and the openings aren't lining up to where they should be. So does that mean I need to take a pencil and cut some stuff again, or is it something else? It was something else. I'm going to put the phone back in here, but this time I'm going to hold the paper still. I'm really going to keep that paper in place as I put the phone in. Because what was happening is, as I was pushing that phone in, it was actually moving the paper slightly. So by holding it in place as I'm putting the phone in, that's going to keep the paper right where I want it. So now you know how to have a zero commitment phone case, meaning you can change it out anytime you want. You don't have to pick just one pattern, just one fun way. You can customize it as many times as you want. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. If you've been enjoying this video, I'd so appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of the fun, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have a new video out. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.